Hi, I'm Patty. I'm a jewelry designer here at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads, and today I'm going to show you how to make this wave pattern friendship bracelet. In order to make the bracelet, there are two knots that we use, and I'm going to do a little demonstration of how to make those knots using some other cord. We'll clip it here in the clip. So the two knots used in the wave pattern are the forward-backward and the backward-forward knot. So let's start with the forward-backward. Whenever you're making a friendship bracelet knot, you have two strands. You have an anchor strand and you have a working strand. In the forward-backward knot, the anchor strand is the right and the working strand is the left. So a forward knot means that you make a 4 shape and the 4 points to the left. So this is the beginning of the forward-backward knot. And then using the same working strand, you go backward. So you make a backward 4 pointing to the left, over and under your anchor strand, and pull it up nicely and firmly. And there you've made your first forward-backward knot. Now I'm going to show you how to make the backward-forward knot, which is the other knot in this bracelet. So you're going to switch strands. Because the word backward comes first, you're pointing your 4 backward. And so this raspberry colored strand is my working strand, and the teal one is my anchor strand. So I'm going to come up and under. And then I'm going to go forward, because we went backward. Now we're going to go forward. Now I've made my first backward-forward knot. So we can go ahead and get started. I've pre-cut 2 lengths of 85-inch seafoam and 1 length of 85-inch royal blue. And I'm going to fold those in half, so I actually have 6 strands. And then I'm going to add 1 42.5 royal blue and a 42.5 seafoam. So I have 8 strands. So I'm just going to make those about the same height there, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a knot. There we go. And then to secure that knot, I'm going to pull each strand individually. There, have a nice tight knot. And I'm going to clip that underneath. Now I'm going to go ahead and separate out my strands in the correct order to make the wave pattern. So the first row I'm going to make is 1 forward-backward knot. And then 3 backward-forward knots. I'm making sure to keep my attention on the color of knot that I'm making, so I'm really looking up here. Okay, so I've got my first row made. So I should have 1 blue knot and 3 seafoam knots. You can see the very beginning here, you have 1 blue and 3 seafoam. On my even number, row number 2, I'm going to throw out the first and last strands, and I'm only going to use the middle strands. And I'm going to do a backward-forward. My working strand is blue, so that will make a blue knot. and 2 forward backward. My working strand is seafoam, so these will make seafoam knots. Hold on. Really easy to get confused here. We're doing forward backward, so my second half of the knot is backward. Okay, so I've got my second row here. So they are identical. And then I'm going to bring my outside strands back in for row 3 because that's an odd row. And make sure that I'm lining up my pairs. We're always working at pairs across here. You'll see these first 3 pairs are always opposite colors and the last pair is always both seafoam. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make 2 forward backward knots. Let me just secure these so they're neater looking. Okay, so we'll make forward backward. And another forward backward. And then 2 backward forward. My working strand is seafoam, so those knots will be seafoam. Okay, so row 3 is completed. And every row that I do, I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at my row and make sure that it's lining up with the pattern that I want to see emerge. This is what's important here is your knots that you're making. I'm going to go ahead and move on to row 4. I'm going to kick the first and last strands out. And we will do 2 backward forward and 1 forward backward. My working strand is royal blue, so it'll make a royal blue knot. If you notice the anchor strand showing, just pull that more tightly when you make your knot. And that will kind of reverse it out so the right color is showing. We want that blue to show. Okay, we've completed row 4. The pattern is emerging nicely. I'm checking that out, making sure. Oh, my knots are nice and tight. Okay, so we're going to pull our strands back in because we're doing an odd row for number 5. And I'm just going to make sure my pairs are correct. That's really important. Okay, so row number 5, I'm going to do 3 forward backward. So I'm building this wave shape up with the royal blue. And then I'm going to end it with a backward forward. Checking that out, that all looks right. This one looks like it could be just a bit tighter, so I'm going to fix that. Then I'm going to throw my outsides out, clean up my pairs, and go to row 6. We've got 2 backward forward. And a forward backward. Okay, for row 7, I am going to bring my outside strands back in, clean up my pairs, make sure I'm connecting the right strands. We don't want to have to go backward and redo anything. So for row 7, we have 3 forward backward. So we're still building up that wave in the blue. And we end with a backward forward. So for row 8, we're going to throw our outside strands out, clean up the pairs, and then we'll do 2 backward forwards. Still making blue knots here. And then we'll end with a forward backward. For row 9, we're going to bring all the strands back in and clean up the pairs. Okay. Then we will have 1 forward backward. We're making a blue knot for the edge. All the edge knots on the left will be blue, as you can see. And then we're going to change it up. We're going to do a backward forward and make the seafoam knot this time, starting to make the background inside the wave. I messed that up. Really easy to do it the wrong way, but you can tell if it's not landing the right direction. We needed to end that one with a forward knot. There we go. I'm going to make sure our pairs are right the next time. And then the next one is a forward backward. And end it with a backward forward seafoam knot. And you'll notice all the seafoam, or all the right side is seafoam. We're going to go to row 10. That was row 9, so now we're on row 10. First and last strands out, and we'll start with a forward backward, making another seafoam knot here. Then a backward forward. Then a forward backward. Okay, I'm going to bring those outside strands back in for row 11. I'm going to make sure that my knots look right, everything looks good. Going according to pattern, sure is. Okay, so row 11, I'm going to clean up my pairs. We're going to start with a forward backward. And then 3 backward forward. So we're going to make seafoam here. Another seafoam. And end with a backward forward. Okay, we're going to throw those first and last out, and we're going to do the last row in this block for our wave. I'm going to clean up the pairs here. Okay. And row 12, the last row, is 3 forward backwards. So we're going to make 3 seafoam knots. Now you can see we have the first block of our wave pattern finished. And you're going to keep going until you get to the desired length of a bracelet that you want. So this one particularly is about 3.5 waves long. You just need to measure for your wrist and decide. You can stop at any point in this wave. It doesn't have to be at the end of a wave or in the middle. Whatever fits you. So now I'm going to start back at step 1. Bring my ruler back up so I know where I am. And I'm going to do a forward backward. Make a blue knot. Clean up my pairs a little bit here. It's kind of messy. And then 3 backward forwards. So I made a blue knot, and I'm going to make 3 seafoams. Oops, did that one wrong. I need to go the other direction. Okay. and then end with another backward forward. And I'm just going to continue along my pattern, throw the first and last out, and just keep going. Okay, we're just about finished with the bracelet. I'm just going to do a couple of more rows here to get the desired length that I want, and you'll notice that some of these are getting fairly short, and that's okay. Some of the strands use more material, so they'll get shorter faster than others. So I am at row 1 again, so I'm going to do a forward backward. And then 3 backward forward. And then just one more row. I'll do row 2 one more time. So the first and last strands will be out. And we'll do 1 backward forward. And make sure I've got the right pairs here. This is why it's important to cut extra material, so you don't want it to get too short because you don't want to have to start all over. And 2 forward backwards. Okay. That's as long as I'd like that friendship bracelet to be. So I'm going to go ahead and unclamp my bracelet, look at it and make sure that everything looks the way I want it to look. Can stretch it a little bit. And then I'm going to terminate that bracelet with another knot, just like I did on this end. So I just want to make sure all my strands are in. It kind of looks neat. I might want to flatten that out with my thumb. And then anything that's really extra long, I'm just going to cut off at this point to make my knot making easier. So I'm going to twist those up really well. Make sure even my little short strands are in there. There we go. And I'm just going to pull on each strand individually to make sure that it's made a nice tight knot. Making sure not to miss those little short strands too. Okay. So I'm going to finish this bracelet off by taking the opposite end and finding those short strands and cutting those off really nice and close. Then I'm going to grab my E6000 Freylock, which is great glue for this purpose, and just put a small dab right on the ends of those cut strands. And it dries pretty flexible. It doesn't dry too hard, so don't worry about that too much. Just take a little bit of a Q-tip and just kind of dab the excess. Then on the other end, I'm going to pick 2 strands that I want to keep, 2 of the longer ones. I'm going to keep 1 of each color here. And I'm going to pull those out. And then all the rest of the strands, I'm going to cut really close. And I want them kind of nice and even. And then I'm going to take my Freylock and just put a dab and make sure I'm getting every strand. Kind of push it down in there so some of the glue goes down into the strand, into the knot. And then I'll just dab away the excess with the Q-tip. We'll let that dry, and then you have your completed friendship bracelet.